Hey guys, good morning. I have one more incident in the life of Moses that illustrates a beautiful principle of forgiveness, and it's a big one. It's a very big one, and it's not being unspiritual to suggest that Moses had to learn what it meant to actually forgive God, because in his humanness, he must have been offended, he must have been hurt, he must have justified his actions. He must have thought to himself, wow, God, surely you're not going to just give me a hard time over that little thing and take away the beauty of all that you promised me because of one thing. And I think within him must have come up a sense of disillusionment or dissatisfaction with serving God, and I didn't get my reward. Let me tell you what happened. You see, Moses at one stage, they needed water, and God said to Moses, go and speak to that rock, and water will come out. But Moses had remembered what had happened back before, where he took his stick and hit the rock. And they got a little bit of reward for that because of, personal reward, because the people must have said, Moses, you and that stick, we can do anything. Moses, you are incredible. And Moses would have smiled and said, yep, me and my stick. And then when it came to the second time, God said to him, this time, just speak to the rock. But I wonder, it's not written, we can only read between the lines, if Moses didn't think to himself, man, last time I got a bit of accolade from the people. Last time I was put on a pedestal, me and my stick. And now if I speak to the rock, then God's going to get all the glory. And so he took his stick. He didn't just hit the rock once, he hit it twice, as if to say, watch me, people. Watch me. I'll sort out your problem for you. And God was not happy with that. God gave them the water, even though Moses had disobeyed. But the consequences of Moses' disobedience, and in a sense, I think Moses was trying to take a little bit of God's glory. And how often have we said, don't touch the glory of God. It belongs to him. He stands alone. You don't stand with him. He is God. And so Moses tried to sneak a little bit of glory on his own, paid a huge price. This is what happened. Let me read it to you. As Moses was about to die, and this is Deuteronomy chapter 34, the Lord told Moses to climb Mount Nebo near the plains of Moab. And he said, I'm going to show you the promised land. And Moses stood there on Mount Nebo and he looked and thought, wow, after all this 40 years of misery in the wilderness, there's the prize. And I don't get to taste the prize. This is what God said. The Lord said to him, this is the land I promised on oath to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob when I said, I will give it to your descendants. I have let you see it with your eyes, but you will not cross over into it. And God goes on to explain why, and it goes back to the story that I told you, don't touch the glory of God. But I wonder in Moses' rational thinking as a human being, if he wasn't thinking, wow, that's not fair. You know, after all I've done, Lord, you took me out of the wilderness and I've led your people when they were up and down. I've forgiven them. I've had to move them through this terrible 40 years of ups and downs, of failures and a few little successes along the way. But Lord, and basically in all of it, it's been a really disappointing experience other than the meetings with you. But Lord, you want to take it from me now? Surely he must have thought like that. But hey, even if he did, the end result speaks power. We don't read of Moses saying, Lord, hey, why you do that, God? You know, why are you taking this away from me? After all that I've done for you, after all my serving of you, I've been faithful, I've done everything you wanted me to do, Lord, and for one glitch, one little blip in the radar, and you judge me, and you don't give me the prize that I've been waiting to get. And I wonder if in his heart he didn't have to say, well, I need to forgive God for that. And so we see how Moses must have had to forgive God for God being God. And sometimes in our own lives, people, the sovereignty of God will always prevail, and it's always the best. But sometimes it goes against human rationale and human tendency to think, well, I have served God, I deserve something. People, we deserve nothing. To be quite honest, we deserve hell because of all that we have done, and we count our good, and we think, well, I'm good enough to get this accolade from God, and God says, well, let's not count the good and the bad. I've done that by grace and given you salvation, but my final decision is my final decision when it comes to reaping the reward. Don't argue with God. Do like Moses, we read between the lines, just smiled and said, Lord, you are God. And I guess I just need to be happy with that. I'm happy that I can see the prize. I'm happy that I can see the promised land. I'm happy that I can see the fulfillment of your promise. And now, God, I'm going to see you, which is far better than seeing the promised land. And we read then that God took Moses onto the mountain, and Moses was no more. God just took him. They searched for Moses, couldn't find him. They searched for a place so they could bury his body. There was no body to be burned or buried because God just took Moses, his friend. Now, that requires an incredible sense of faith, an incredible depth of love for God to say, you have deprived me of the prize, but that's okay. I still love you, and I need just to forgive you for being God. Maybe in your own life today, you feel that God has let you down. You feel that God made you a promise. You think that some prophet or somebody came along and told you something, and you're holding on to that thing. People, let it go. Let it go. And just trust God to do what only God can do, because God is God and you are not. Stop rationalizing your mess ups and saying, Lord, I deserve better than this. You deserve nothing better than this. You're getting everything, the glorious part of God's grace and goodness. Let's be satisfied with that. Have a great day, people. We're going to pick up on a new theme I can't wait for tomorrow. But asking if you'll go and read the book of Hosea. It's a great story. And I want to pick up on the theme of forgiveness that it runs through this great prophet's life. It's huge. Go and read it. Your homework for today. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.